Grain Brain. The surprising truth about wheat, carbs, and sugar? Your brain's silent killers. By David Perlmutter, MD. Introduction. Imagine for a moment a 63-year-old woman named Fran. For as long as she could remember, a throbbing, pulsating sensation lived inside her head. It wasn't just a headache, it was a daily migraine. 30 long years of misery. She had tried everything. Powerful migraine drugs, consultations at top clinics, the works. Nothing gave her more than a fleeting moment of relief. Her life was a constant war with this nagging pain. Then, one day, a doctor looked past the usual suspects. He didn't prescribe a new, stronger pill. Instead, he asked about her diet, ran a simple test, and prescribed something radical, a gluten-free diet. 4 months later, Fran wrote a letter. She said, "My almost daily migraine symptoms have abated. The two biggest changes in my body are the lack of a very hot head in the night with resulting migraines, and the huge increase in my energy levels. Today my level of daily accomplishment is enormous compared to my life before seeing you." She ended with a simple, profound sentence. "Thank you, once again, for finding what seems to be the solution to my many years of migraine misery." What if the most debilitating ailments of our time, migraines, depression, anxiety, ADHD, and even the terrifying specter of Alzheimer's disease, are not random misfortunes or genetic curses, but the direct result of the food we eat every single day? What if the solution isn't in a pill bottle, but in our pantry? That is the revolutionary, and for some, shocking, idea at the heart of Grain Brain, by Drive. David Perlmutter. This isn't just another diet book. When it was released, it sent shockwaves through the medical community and ignited a global conversation. Drive. Perlmutter isn't a celebrity nutritionist, he's a board-certified, practicing neurologist. He's a brain doctor who, after decades of treating patients with devastating neurological conditions, came to a staggering conclusion: modern grains are silently destroying our most precious organ. Today, we're going to journey into the heart of his argument. And I promise you this, by the end of our time together, you will look at a simple slice of bread in a way you never have before. You will understand that the fate of your brain is not sealed by your genes. It is being decided, meal by meal, at the end of your fork. This knowledge is more than just interesting, it's empowering. It's the key to taking back control of your health and building a sharper, more vibrant brain for the rest of your life. Book summary. Let's begin with a question that might seem a little strange. If you could travel back in time, say, 40,000 years, and sit down with one of your ancestors, what would you talk about? You might describe cars, skyscrapers, the internet. But eventually, they would ask about the challenges of your time. And you'd have to explain things they have no words for: obesity, heart disease, diabetes, depression, dementia. They would look at you, confused. The idea of living with a chronic condition that slowly and painfully leads to death would sound far more terrifying than being hunted by a predator. And you'd have to admit, something seems deeply wrong with this picture. As a species, we are genetically almost identical to those hunter-gatherers. Our bodies are designed for their world, not ours. For nearly all of human history, our diet consisted of wild game, seasonal plants, and the occasional fruit or nuts. It was a diet high in fat, high in protein, and very, very low in carbohydrates. Today, the standard American diet is the complete opposite. It's built on a mountain of carbohydrates, 60% of our calories, according to U.S. health experts. Our ancestors? They got maybe 5%. This single, dramatic shift, from a high-fat, low-carb diet to a low-fat, high-carb diet, is what Drive. Perlmutter argues is the origin of our most dreaded modern diseases, especially those of the brain. He puts it bluntly: Our most beloved dietary staple, what we call healthy whole grains, is a terrorist group that bullies our brain. This sounds absurd, doesn't it? We've been told our whole lives that whole grains are the cornerstone of a healthy diet. That fat is the enemy. That cholesterol clogs our arteries and must be avoided at all costs. Drive. Perlmutter is here to tell us that this is not just wrong, it's a lie that is costing us our minds. To understand why, we need to talk about one of the most destructive forces in the body, inflammation. Think of inflammation like fire. A small, controlled fire can be useful. If you get a cut, your body sends inflammatory cells to the site to fight off bacteria and begin the healing process. That's a good fire. But what happens when that fire is never put out? What if it's a low-grade, simmering fire that spreads silently through your entire body, day after day? That's chronic inflammation. And drive. Perlmutter identifies it as the cornerstone of nearly all degenerative diseases, from arthritis and heart disease to cancer, and, most critically, brain disorders. When this fire reaches the brain, it's like a slow, simmering burn that damages brain cells, disrupts communication, and paves the way for decay. This isn't just a theory, we can now see it. Using new imaging technology, scientists can watch the brains of Alzheimer's patients, and they see them lit up with the cellular mediators of inflammation. The brain is literally on fire. So the next logical question is, what is fueling this fire? Two main culprits, sugar and gluten. Let's start with sugar, in all its forms. When you eat carbohydrates, whether it's a slice of whole wheat bread, a bowl of rice, or a candy bar, your body breaks them down into glucose, or blood sugar. This surge of sugar triggers the release of a hormone called insulin. Insulin's job is to escort that sugar out of your bloodstream and into your cells for energy. For our ancestors, a spike in blood sugar was a rare event. It happened maybe in late summer when fruits ripened. Their bodies were perfectly designed to handle these occasional bursts. But our bodies were never designed to handle the constant, relentless flood of sugar that comes from a diet built on carbs. When your cells are constantly bombarded by insulin, they start to become deaf to its message. This is called insulin resistance. The pancreas, trying to be heard, just shouts louder, it pumps out even more insulin. This creates a vicious cycle. High insulin levels promote fat storage, especially that dangerous belly fat, and they are intensely pro-inflammatory. They fan the flames of that silent fire. This is why diabetes doubles your risk for Alzheimer's disease. In fact, the link is so strong that some researchers have begun calling Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes. It's a disease of insulin resistance, but in the brain. When brain cells become insulin resistant, they struggle to get the fuel they need, and a cascade of damage begins, leading to the infamous plaques and tangles that are the hallmarks of the disease. What's truly frightening is what recent studies have shown. You don't have to be diabetic for this damage to occur. Researchers in Australia found that people whose blood sugar was on the high end of the normal range had a much greater risk for brain shrinkage, particularly in the brain's memory centers. This means that even if your doctor tells you your blood sugar is normal, if you're eating a high-carb diet, you could be silently damaging your brain. And here's the kicker. What food raises blood sugar more than almost any other? More than a candy bar? More than a spoonful of pure table sugar? A slice of healthy whole wheat bread. We've known for decades that wheat products spike blood sugar dramatically, yet we continue to call them health foods. It's a perception drive. Perlmutter is determined to change. But the problem with wheat goes even deeper than just sugar. We have to talk about gluten. Gluten, the name comes from the Latin word for glue, is the protein that gives bread its soft, chewy texture. For a small percentage of the population with celiac disease, gluten triggers a severe autoimmune reaction that destroys the lining of the small intestine. For years, we thought that was the end of the story. If you don't have celiac, gluten is fine. This, drive, Perlmutter says, is a dangerous misconception. He calls gluten a silent germ. He argues that gluten sensitivity can be primarily, and at times exclusively, a neurological disease. In other words, you can have a brain that is highly sensitive to gluten without ever experiencing a single stomachache. How is this possible? When your immune system reacts to gluten, it creates inflammatory messenger molecules called cytokines. These cytokines are like little firebombs. They travel through your bloodstream and can cross the blood-brain barrier. Once inside the brain, they are highly toxic. They damage tissue and leave the brain vulnerable to dysfunction. The science on this is becoming undeniable. Researchers are now linking gluten sensitivity to a shocking array of neurological problems: epilepsy, chronic headaches, depression, anxiety, ADHD, schizophrenia, and even decreased libido. Consider Lauren, a 30-year-old woman who came to Drive Perlmutter's clinic. For 12 years, her life had been a downhill ride. She had been hospitalized for mania, experienced episodes of becoming overly grandiose, and then would swing into severe, suicidal depression. She was diagnosed as bipolar. Mental illness ran in her family. It seemed like a clear-cut case of genetics. She had no bowel issues, no food allergies. But Drive Perlmutter ran a test for gluten sensitivity anyway. The results were profound. Her markers were more than twice the normal range. 2 months after starting a gluten-free diet, her life did a complete 180. The depression lifted. The dark cloud she had lived under for over a decade was gone. Her thoughts were sharp. She could make decisions with a confidence she'd never known. A simple dietary change did what years of medication could not. The problem is, the wheat we eat today isn't the same wheat our great-grandparents ate. It's not even the same wheat that existed 50 years ago. Through modern hybridization and genetic modification, we have created strains of wheat that contain up to 40 times more gluten than older varieties. We have engineered this grain to be more addictive than ever. And it is addictive. We've known since the 1970s that when gluten breaks down in your stomach, it forms polypeptides that can cross into the brain. Once there, they bind to the same morphine receptors that opiate drugs like heroin bind to. They create a mild euphoria, a reward that makes you want more. Drive Perlmutter doesn't mince words. This is your brain on wheat. Food manufacturers know this. Is it any wonder they try to pack as much of it into their products as possible? This brings us to the second great myth of modern nutrition: the war on fat and cholesterol. For the last half-century, we've been told a simple story: eating fat makes you fat, and eating cholesterol clogs your arteries and gives you heart disease. This led to an entire generation of low-fat, non-fat, and cholesterol-free products flooding our grocery stores. We replaced butter with margarine, red meat with lean chicken, and whole eggs with egg whites. And what happened? We got fatter and sicker than ever before. Drive Perlmutter argues that this diet heart hypothesis is the greatest health scam of the century. The truth, he says, is this: fat, not carbohydrate, is the preferred fuel of human metabolism. Our brains, in particular, crave it. Your brain is the fattest organ in your body, over 70% fat by dry weight. It needs fat to function. And it desperately needs cholesterol. Cholesterol isn't a villain, it's a superhero. It's a critical brain nutrient, essential for the function of your neurons. It's a precursor to vital hormones like testosterone and estrogen, and to vitamin D, which itself acts like a powerful brain-protecting hormone. Cholesterol is a potent antioxidant, protecting your brain from free radical damage. Your brain cells depend on a steady supply of it to build healthy membranes and communicate effectively. So what does the science say? Let's look at the famous Framingham Heart Study, one of the most respected medical studies ever conducted. Researchers found that participants with desirable cholesterol levels below 200 actually performed worse on cognitive tests than those with high cholesterol. The people with the highest cholesterol had better memory, attention, and abstract reasoning. Other studies have found the same pattern again and again. Low cholesterol is associated with a significantly higher risk for Parkinson's disease, depression, and even suicide. A Dutch study followed elderly individuals for 10 years and found that each 39-point increase in total cholesterol corresponded to a 15% decrease in the risk of dying. The people with the highest cholesterol were far less likely to die from common killers like cancer and infections. High cholesterol, it turns out, is associated with a longer, healthier life. So why have we been so afraid of it? The story we were told was that cholesterol, especially the bad LDL cholesterol, builds up in our arteries as plaque. But this is an oversimplification. The real problem isn't LDL itself. The problem is oxidized LDL. LDL becomes damaged, or oxidized, primarily by one thing: sugar. When high blood sugar is present, sugar molecules attach themselves to LDL proteins in a process called glycation. You can think of it as caramelization. This process creates a 50-fold increase in free radical production. It's these glycated, oxidized LDL particles that are the real culprits in heart disease. The enemy was never the cholesterol. The enemy was the sugar that was damaging the cholesterol. By telling people to eat a low-fat, high-carb diet, we were unwittingly creating the very conditions that lead to heart disease. And what about the brain? When LDL becomes glycated, it can no longer deliver its precious cargo of cholesterol to brain cells. The brain begins to starve. This brings us to one of the most widely prescribed drugs in the world: statins. These drugs are designed to aggressively lower cholesterol. And they work. But at what cost? Memory loss is now a known side effect listed by the FDA. Studies have shown that women taking statins have a nearly 50% increased risk of developing diabetes, which, remember, doubles the risk for Alzheimer's. By depriving the brain of the cholesterol it needs to function, these drugs may be setting the stage for cognitive decline. As one researcher at Iowa State University put it, if you deprive cholesterol from the brain, then you directly affect the machinery that triggers the release of neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters affect the data processing and memory functions. In other words, how smart you are and how well you remember things. The central message of Grain Brain is one of incredible hope. We are not doomed by our DNA. The field of epigenetics has shown us that our lifestyle choices, the food we eat, the exercise we get, the sleep we prioritize, act as signals that tell our genes which ones to turn on and which ones to keep silent. We can literally change the expression of our genes. Even more exciting is the discovery of neurogenesis. For a century, we believed that we were born with a fixed number of brain cells, and that as they died off, they were gone forever. We now know this is false. We can grow new brain cells throughout our entire lives. The key to this process is a protein called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF. You can think of BDNF as Miracle-Gro for your brain. It plays a key role in creating new neurons, protecting the ones you already have, and encouraging new connections between them. Levels of BDNF are shockingly low in the brains of Alzheimer's patients. So, how do we get more of this miracle protein? We don't need a pill. We can activate the gene for BDNF production through simple lifestyle choices. The two most powerful activators are aerobic exercise and caloric restriction. When you go for a brisk walk or a run, you aren't just working your heart, you are sending a powerful signal to your genes to produce more BDNF. Studies have shown that just a moderate walking program can actually reverse age-related shrinkage of the hippocampus, the brain's memory center. Exercise literally makes your brain bigger and better. Caloric restriction, or simply eating fewer calories, has a similar effect. But you don't have to starve yourself. Drive. Perlmutter is a huge advocate for intermittent fasting. For example, not eating for a 24-hour period once a week. When you fast, something amazing happens. After about 3 days without food, your body shifts its fuel source. It stops running on glucose and starts burning fat. As it breaks down fat, your liver creates specialized molecules called ketones. One of these, beta-HBA, is what drive. Perlmutter calls a superfuel for the brain. The brain runs more efficiently on ketones than on glucose. This state of ketosis is profoundly neuroprotective. It reduces inflammation, boosts antioxidant production, and stimulates the growth of new brain cells. This is why the core of the Grain Brain program is a ketogenic diet, a diet that is very low in carbs, around 30 to 60 grams a day, moderate in protein, and high in healthy fats. By eliminating grains and sugar and embracing fats, you are essentially mimicking the metabolic state of fasting. You are training your body to become a fat-burning machine and providing your brain with its preferred, clean-burning fuel. You're not just losing weight, you are fundamentally changing your body's biochemistry to one that fights inflammation and supports brain health. The final piece of the puzzle is sleep. We often treat sleep as a luxury, something to be sacrificed for a busy schedule. This is a grave mistake. Sleep is when your body and brain perform critical repair and maintenance. It's when your hormones are regulated. Poor sleep throws this entire system into chaos. Specifically, it disrupts two key appetite hormones, ghrelin and leptin. Ghrelin is the go hormone. It tells you when you're hungry. Leptin is the stop hormone. It's released from your fat cells to tell your brain you're full. When you're sleep deprived, ghrelin levels soar and leptin levels plummet. Your brain gets a constant signal that you're starving, and you develop intense cravings for the worst possible foods, high-carb, sugary snacks. This pushes you toward insulin resistance, weight gain, and inflammation, all the things that set the stage for brain disease. Getting at least 7 hours of quality, restorative sleep each night isn't just about feeling rested. It's about taking control of the hormonal kingdom that rules your metabolism, your appetite, and ultimately, your brain's health. The journey drive Perlmutter takes us on is a radical one. It asks us to question everything we've been taught about healthy eating. It asks us to believe that the solution to our modern health crisis doesn't lie in the future, in some high-tech medical breakthrough, but in our distant past. It's a return to the way of eating that our bodies were designed for. A diet that eliminates the inflammatory fire of grains and sugar, and instead embraces the clean, powerful fuel of healthy fats. It's a choice to stop poisoning our brains and start nourishing them. It's a realization that the power to build a better brain has been in our hands, and on our plates, all along. Commentary. When you finish a book like Grain Brain, it's hard not to feel a mix of emotions. There's a bit of anger, perhaps, at how we could have gotten things so wrong for so long. There's a sense of wonder at the elegant, intricate design of the human body. But more than anything, there is a profound sense of empowerment. The single most powerful lesson from this book is not that bread is bad or that fat is good. It's that you are the conductor of your own health orchestra. For generations, we've been conditioned to see ourselves as passive victims of our genetics. We get the diseases that run in the family. We accept cognitive decline as an inevitable part of aging. We wait until something is broken, and then we go to a doctor for a pill to fix the symptom. Drive. Perlmutter's work shatters this fatalistic view. He hands the power back to you. He shows you, with clear and compelling science, that your daily choices are sending constant instructions to your body, right down to the level of your DNA. You are not just a passenger on this journey, you are the pilot. What makes this message so resonant today? We are living in a world of unprecedented chronic illness. The rates of diabetes, obesity, and autoimmune disorders are skyrocketing. And the numbers for Alzheimer's are terrifying. By 2050, it's estimated that 100 million people worldwide will be affected. This isn't just a health crisis, it's a human crisis. And our current medical model, which focuses on treating disease after it has already taken hold, is simply not equipped to handle it. Grain Brain offers a different path. It's a path of prevention. It's a path that focuses on creating wellness instead of just managing illness. It argues that the most powerful medicine available to us is found not in a pharmacy, but in the grocery store and on the walking trail. So, how can you begin to apply these lessons today? It can feel overwhelming, I know. But you don't have to change everything overnight. Start with a few simple, powerful actions. First, try a 1-week experiment. For just 7 days, make a conscious effort to remove gluten, processed sugar, and refined carbohydrates from your diet. Don't worry about being perfect. Just focus on replacing those foods with whole, real foods, vegetables, healthy fats like avocado and olive oil, quality proteins like wild fish and grass-fed meat. At the end of the week, just notice how you feel. Notice your energy levels, the clarity of your thoughts, your mood, your sleep. This isn't about a lifelong commitment just yet. It's about gathering your own personal data. Second, start thinking of fat as your friend. In your next meal, intentionally add a source of healthy fat. Maybe it's a few slices of avocado with your eggs, a generous drizzle of extra virgin olive oil on your salad, or a handful of almonds as a snack. This is a mental shift as much as a dietary one. Start to see fat not as a threat, but as the premium fuel your brain has been craving. And third, move your body. Today, go for a brisk, 20-minute walk. You don't need a gym membership or fancy equipment. Just put on your shoes and walk. As you do, don't think of it as burning calories. Think of it as sending a message to your genes. With every step, you are telling your brain to grow, to protect itself, to become more resilient. That was the summary of Grain Brain by Drive. David Perlmutter. We've explored the main currents of this powerful book today, but I'll be honest with you, a summary is like looking at a map of a beautiful country. It can show you the landmarks, but it can never replace the experience of walking the trails yourself. The real magic happens when you read the book, when a particular study or a patient's story connects with you in a way you didn't expect. This summary is a starting point, a way for you to decide if this journey is one you want to take. If anything we've talked about has sparked something in you, I encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning facts. It's an experience that can fundamentally change the way you see your plate, your health, and your future. The link to the book is in the description below. Also, if you found this summary valuable, and you feel a little bit more in control of your own health journey, please do me a small favor and hit that like button. And be sure to subscribe to the channel, so you don't miss our next exploration into another life-changing book. Let's keep learning and growing together.